Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard going into week 10 of the NFL season, 2024 season. A lot of interesting games tonight, or this weekend coming up, but I'm curious about specifically two or three of them, which I think we have a lot of disagreements this week, but that's maybe just my bold prediction. Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh, I am good. I'm better than Saints fans right now because I made this prediction at the beginning of the season. I didn't plan on Robert Saleh getting fired so early into the season, but Dennis Allen has been fired, so I'm glad that prediction came true. He just wasn't quite first, but I still was on the right track after the first two games of the season. Everybody's like, oh, this is Derek Carr's an MVP candidate, and these guys are going to the Super Bowl, obviously, but no, it all came crashing down. Even with Derek Carr back, that team is horrible right now. They're not going to have Chris Olave for who knows how many games. This team is going down the toilet, and you love to see it, don't you? How are you, Alex?
Better than Cowboys fans, second week in a row. And I feel like that streak might get extended for a while because they're not looking good. They're probably going to miss the playoffs. Dak Prescott's going to be out for a few weeks with an injury. Not that that's ever a good thing, but just to add on top of, the misery, Cowboys are not looking great. What is looking great, hopefully, for me, is our current prediction standing. So how do we perform last week?
Oh, man. Well, we tied last week, so it didn't really help me any. Didn't help you either. So in the end, we only disagreed on two games, and that was the Bears and Cardinals. The Bears absolutely let me down, and you keep betting on the Cardinals, and they keep winning somehow. The other game was the Rams and Seahawks, your other rivals, and you picked the Seahawks, and I actually pulled that one out because I see the Rams heating up, and the Seahawks are the most mid-level team in the entire NFL. They are just so bland. Like, there's nothing exciting about the Seahawks. They're not a bad team, but they're not exciting. But anyway, we split those. That brings the total to 11 for each of us on the week. Total for the season, 88 for me and 95 for you.
Yeah, well, Seahawks haven't won a game in the past month and a half, so I feel like we could consider them one of the bottom teams coming up pretty soon if they don't get it together. For our predictions at this point, to me, every tie is a win. I think every week you don't get closer. I'm holding off the inevitable comeback. Now we're in week 10. I will take every tie as a win, but of course I'm going to try to make up some extra points here. Do you want to quickly talk about the MVP discussion? I'm going to put out the poll again where people, our viewers, can go to our channel community page and vote for their current MVP favorite. What is your impression looking like at the moment, Smokey?
Well, I only have 4 names because I can't begin to sort through that lump of people after number 4 right now. But the top 4 would be Lamar Jackson, obviously. Everybody's already picking him to be the MVP at this point in time. Jared Goff, the Lions are absolutely on fire. There's no doubt about it. That team is so good. Josh Allen, the perennial guy who never seems to make it in the end, but he's always there. And after that dominant performance by Joe Burrow, I actually threw him into the number 4 spot. Wasn't a ton of passing yards, but 5 touchdowns, that's quite an accomplishment. And Joe Burrow looks great. The wins are a problem for him. That's why he's at the bottom of that list. But other than that, man, I cannot sort through this big jumble of people after that. It seems like everybody's tied for 5th place. So I'll go with those 4 for right now.
Yeah, I'll go one further and I will give you a 5th place. So I'll give you my top 5. I got Allen, I got Jackson, I got Goff, Burrow, and then I still have Sam Darnold at number 5, I think, who's just a little tick above the rest. We saw an interesting development last week. So obviously after we saw the Lions completely destroy Tennessee 2 weeks ago, Jared Goff was the favorite after week 7. Now after last week, we actually have a majority vote in our poll, and 53% Josh Allen at this point is leading the polls by quite a bit. Jared Goff in second with 21%, and then Lamar Jackson and Sam Darnold tied for third at 13%. So I am curious to see how this is going to develop. I feel like we will eventually see a little more separation from just the Allen Jackson, Goff, but you were talking about how Joe Burrow is flying up the ranks and the Bengals are now winning games. If they end up sitting there with a reasonably comfortable winning record, even though they had the horrific start, Joe Burrow is definitely in a conversation with him because he just played the best game of the season, trounced the Raiders. and everything is still in play for Cincinnati, but they are in a tough division, and they are still kind of playing uphill. But for now, Josh Allen's number one. Let's see what the rest of the people think for this week. I will post the survey, and people should go fill it out. Now let's get into week 10, and we start off with an amazing game. Two MVP candidates facing off on Thursday night, the Bengals at Baltimore.
Wow, both of these teams scored 41 points last week on their opponents, man. This is going to be a shootout, in my opinion. Both of these defenses are not that great. You can absolutely pass on the Ravens, and that's what Joe Burrow likes to do. You can do everything against the Bengals, but the Bengals have a wonderful offense, and that's what's making them win a few games here and there. They're still below 500, but I have a feeling that's going to change by the end of the season. They're going to make a playoff push, of course, because they seem to do that every year. So, man, that makes this really tough. I think there's going to be a ton of points scored in this game. I think by the end of this game, we're still not going to have any clarity on who's better. I mean, Lamar Jackson has the edge right now only because of the wins, but Joe Burrow's playing lights out. So is Lamar, man. Lamar's not passing a ton. They're doing it separate ways, but you have to respect his speed on the ground so much that he can hit those few passes that he does make, and very accurate when he does. Lamar is not a bad passer. It's just that he's so deadly on the ground that, it leaves the field open a lot of times. Who do I want here, though, man? Jesus. Both of these teams are on fire. You know what? I'm just going to give 3 points to the home team. I'll be taking the Ravens at home.
Yeah, I had a very similar thought process. First of all, I expect this to be maybe the best game of the week, and it does have the highest over-under of the week, as you've alluded to, 53.5. Mm-hmm. So we are expecting quite some points. We're expecting each team to score 4 touchdowns, and I don't see why that wouldn't happen. I think it'll be a good one, especially with the Bengals defense having been quite a weak unit this year. The Ravens defense is a little bit better, but also not top-notch. I think it'll be a really good one. I think the Ravens are going to do a lot of good things on the ground, though. They have a great offensive line. Obviously, the tandem of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. The Bengals run defense. Usually, this year has not been up to the task against that kind of caliber running offense, which is why also I'm going to give it to the Baltimore Ravens. But I expect it to be a very competitive game. I expect Joe Burrow to come out looking the way he has looked and keep his team competitive. Probably going to throw for 3 to 5 touchdowns again, and keep it an interesting contest. Ultimately, though, I have to go Baltimore. Giants and Carolina to alienate the German audience once and for all. They're playing in Germany this weekend.
Yeah, 2 teams that no one in Germany wants to get behind, I'm sure. The Panthers are still at the bottom of the pile, although the Saints have been making a push for that because they actually lost. Imagine that if you're Derek Carr, and after 2 weeks, you're labeled the number 1 quarterback in the league, and then you go down to the Panthers. I'll get to the Saints later. The Panthers actually got the win, though. It was not well. They just got lucky that the Saints are so bad, so it's not like I'm giving them a boost in their category or anything. Giants, on the other hand, don't have much going for them either. This is absolutely a tank bowl. Man, I hate that Daniel Jones is probably going to never live up to his potential. At this point, we have to kind of call it, right? Like, he's probably going to get replaced next year. Jalen Milroe, come on down to the Giants. Something like that's going to happen. But as for this one, they're in Germany, no home field advantage. I say that the Giants have a slight edge. I will take Malik Neighbors to win this game.
It is a lot easier to replace someone that you don't owe $90 million over the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah. That's the big question for the Giants. Daniel Jones is earning massive money, and replacing him with a rookie, it'll be a cornerstone decision for sure. If they decide to go that way, I don't know. But in the case of this game, I will, once again, I'm siding with you. I'll take the Giants to get it done in Germany, and I know the stadium will be full because it's the NFL and it's something new. But I've recently come to learn, and this is an interesting analogy, that countries that produce exotic fruits like mangoes and bananas, they send all of the worst possible ones to like Europe and the United States, because we can't tell the difference anywhere. And we're like, we get a mango, and we're like, oh wow, that's amazing, that's so fruity and sweet and exotic, and it's just garbage because that's all we get, and it's basically good for us anyways, like feeding dog food like a slaughterhouse trash, but to them it's the best meat on the planet. That's what the German audience is going to experience. They're going to see a professional football game live, and they just don't even know that this is the bottom of the barrel. But whatever makes them happy, I guess. I'll take the Giants. Get it done. Patriots and the Bears.
That's a hilarious analogy. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, speaking of bottom of the barrel, though, the Pats and the Bears right here, man. I really don't know who to pick in this one either. Drake May is probably going to develop into a wonderful quarterback somewhere down the line. I don't expect the Pats to win much this year. Yeah, they pulled out that miracle. Actually, no. Yeah, they lost to the Titans. They
lost.
Yeah,
they pulled out a miracle and still lost.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They got to overtime and blew it because they couldn't even kick a 3 like the Titans did. But Drake May, looks like he's showing signs of brilliance. So with those flashes, I think he's going to be good in the future. But right now, the Patriots are just not that good. The Bears, on the other hand, have had some really good games, and they've had some terrible games. I think that's the ups and downs of rookie quarterbacks right there. They have wonderful pass catchers. They just don't have a guy who is quite ready to feed those pass catchers. But I think being at home, yeah, I'm going to give it to the Bears. I think being at home, I'll give them the 3 points also and go with the Bears at home.
Yep, same. Give me the Bears. Drake May can pull something off, but ultimately the Bears are the better roster, and they're not a great roster, but the Patriots are incredibly depleted. I think they'll have to rethink what the direction they're going with in terms of coaching staff. I think that there has to be like an overhaul. You have someone in Drake May who you can build on, who's shown you promise. Build around him and start with a fresh head coach and a fresh coaching staff next year, and then draft around him. And as for the Bears, yeah, they're just a little bit further in the rebuild. They put Caleb Williams in a better situation. So I think ultimately the Bears will get it done again at home. Bills and the Colts.
Yeah, the Bills is a run funnel defense. As we saw Devon Achane run all over them. Does that mean much for the Colts? I think Taylor's probably going to put up a ton of yards in this one. But even with Joe Flacco, this team is not pulling off wins. I know what people expected, we could at least make the playoffs if we go with Joe Flacco for the rest of the season over AR, but that's probably not going to happen because the Colts are just not built like that. Even though you have a competent passer out there, the guy is approaching 40 if he's not already. And this is the Bills. The Bills were in a dogfight with the Dolphins. That game was absolutely wonderful to watch. Bills are just a better team. Going with the Bills on the road.
Absolutely. Give me Buffalo. It was a great game against. It's good to see Miami being competitive again as soon as Tua comes back. It's very, very well and good for the division for sure to have some competition there. But yeah, Buffalo's going to win the division. They're looking great. They're looking like, to me, the best team in the AFC at the moment, and I'm gonna give them the win here as well. Vikings and the Jaguars.
Yeah, see, last week was the reason I didn't put Darnold in the MVP running, because he played absolutely wonderful in the fourth quarter. Got the win. It was great, but for 3 quarters, he looked pretty terrible, in my opinion. He threw some interceptions, and I don't know. I feel like he's still having a great overall season because Sam Darnold, he's on that 5th year or 6th year breakout or whatever it is, maybe even 7th year, whatever it is for him. But overall, having a great Geno Smith-like season. But yeah, it's just not MVP worthy, in my opinion. Oh, on the other side, the Jags have probably the worst defense, and the Vikings have probably the best defense. The Jags, put up a good fight also and then went down in flames. The Jags are just a bottom 5 team at this point. It sucks because at some point Trevor Lawrence is going to lose his job at this route. I'll be going with the Vikings on the road.
Agree once again. This is not the competitive half of the schedule for this week. So I agree with you again. Yeah, Vikings get it done. They've been a very good team. And the NFC North is looking like the best division in football. We just saw the Packers-Lions suddenly kicking off a real rivalry. And the Vikings are going to want to have a word. So Jaguars should be a pushover. Broncos and Chiefs.
You know, even as bad as the Broncos were last year, they still got a win over the Chiefs. I think it was their second game. After losing to the Chiefs, like, well, whatever it was, like, I don't even remember the exact number. It was like 20-something times in a row or something ridiculous that they lost to the Chiefs that many times. And then they finally got the win. But I can't see it happening here. The Chiefs, no matter how much they are put up against the ropes, they win in the end, whether it takes the ref or it takes Travis Kelce actually looking like Travis Kelce, whatever it takes, or somebody trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs, because we all know these super elite dynasty teams really need more help. So let's just give them a receiver, a guy that's been dominant for the past 15 years in the NFL. Yeah, let's just feed him to them so that they can definitely go to the Super Bowl. But that's the problem here. The Chiefs win at home.
Yeah. There also has to be some difference in terms of just front office IQ when you compare some of these teams and the trades. The Chiefs traded a conditional 5th round pick for DeAndre Hopkins on the same day that the Cowboys traded a guaranteed 4th round pick for Jonathan Mingo. I mean, what more is there to say? I know players have teams that they prefer, they want to go to, and the Chiefs are one such destination. But why? I mean, the other team's still accepting the trade. So there's something some teams are just doing wrong, or some teams are doing right, that just compounds the difference there. But all that rambling for nothing. I'm going to pull out the bombshell here. Broncos win. I'm taking this one to be sort of, this is kind of the perfect storm, because the Chiefs are the worst 8-0 team in NFL history, objectively. The record, not the record, but the statistics prove it. Patrick Mahomes is way below average among quarterbacks at the moment. And in terms of their scoring differential, I think they're plus 56, which is by far the worst for any undefeated team who's made it to 8-0 going undefeated. So it's a boat that's bound to break eventually, sooner or later. So far, they've been holding it together with a lot of legal and questionable means, as you've mentioned. I think the Broncos are exactly the team that's going to be able to throw a wrench into the whole situation here. They're coming off a terrible loss, getting beat up by Baltimore. And historically this year, they've been very up and down. As we know, Bo Nix has great potential to play a phenomenal game. It's at Kansas City. All of it's everything's speaking against them, which is exactly why I am picking them. I think this is just going to be the upset of the week. And the Denver Broncos ultimately are the team that gets it done, because no one expects them to. They will be underestimated. People don't really know what to do with Bo Nix when they play against him, because you have no idea what he's going to look like. All of that could be some problem for Kansas City. So this is the big upset that I'm picking for this week. Falcons and the Saints.
You know, I was just celebrating the Saints firing Dennis Allen a little bit earlier. I wish they would have waited. And then you
remember the 2-game bump.
Yeah, I wish they would have waited one more week. Just keep it for one more week, man. This can't happen, right? Like, the Falcons are absolutely light years ahead of the Saints right now. But that 2-game bump is real. Maybe the entire curse is broken. I can hope for that, I guess. That the Jets, or not the curse, but the trend. Maybe the Jets broke that trend, and it's going to continue. So I'll go for that. That'll be my only hope in this game. But I would not be surprised to see the Saints win this game. As bad as they are, no Chris Olave. The team is absolutely horrible. They're beat to shreds. The Falcons have most of their pieces right now. I don't know if Drake London's going to be in this game or not. I kind of doubt it at this point. He's got a hip pointer issue there, so we may not see either of the elite wide receivers in this game. It's going to be all tight ends, and I'm going to go with the Falcons. I'm going to stick with my team because they're winning, and Kirk Cousins looks like it was a great move to bring him out, but Man, I don't feel good about it. I'm sticking with the Falcons on the road.
You're definitely opening yourself up to the biggest curse you possibly could have.
Probably.
Everything's pointing that way, but I'm gonna be on your side here. I fell for the 2-game bump thing. I was kind of conned by it. I picked the Jets to beat Buffalo when Robert Saleh got fired. Didn't exactly work out that way. Neither game 1 nor game 2. They lost both of them. So I think this season is just not a 2-game bump kind of season. I'm taking Falcons as well. It's a much better team. We don't often have this dynamic where with the Saints and Falcons where one team is like they're just trending in completely opposite directions. Doesn't happen a whole lot. It's like historically they have been a rivalry because historically they've both been extremely mediocre all at the same time and kind of playing for honor more than anything else. But right now it's looking like Falcons have serious playoff aspirations. The Saints are kind of down in the basement, so I think the Falcons will take advantage. Niners and the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm right now looking at the availability for Deebo Samuel, and it looks like he is practicing in a limited fashion. That's pretty good for the 49ers here. The Bucks, on the other hand, are absolutely beat to shreds, so you got that going for you. If you guys have Samuel and Kittle out there, then I think you got this one in the bag. We've seen the Bucks really struggle without their 2 elite pass catchers. I wouldn't say Cade Otton is anywhere near elite, but he's getting all the work because he's the last man standing at this point, and along with some guys who would be on practice squads on some teams. So you're going to go on the road. You're going to go down to Tampa, and the crowd noise is not going to bother you. The 49ers are going to pull together coming off of a bye and win one over the beat-up Bucks. I'll take the 49ers on the road.
Agree. Give me the Niners. I'm glad that the Bucks are definitely hampered because otherwise this would have been a very fair fight. I have to say these teams were evenly matched. If it weren't for the 2 big wide receiver injuries for Tampa Bay, of course the Niners are still beat up and we're still waiting for a few players to return. But McCaffrey's coming back, Dre Greenlaw's coming back. I don't know if any of them have a chance to make this game. I don't think so, but for next week, I think people are quite optimistic and they'll be at more or less full strength at some point during the season. But it should be enough to beat Tampa, so I will take the Niners. Steelers and the Commies.
Wow, this is one of the games of the week right here. This should be a really tough matchup. The Steelers are on fire. The Commanders are on fire. I really don't know what to make of this game. Like it's almost defense versus offense in a way. The Steelers have a really great defense. The Commanders have a really great offense. I feel like having the rookie quarterback, as great as he's been, it's going to cost you a few games because he just hasn't developed. I mean, yeah, he was an older quarterback. What did he play? 5 or 6 years in college. So that is in favor of the Commanders for sure. But he's still going to drop some games here and there. And when he does drop games, it's going to be against an elite defense. And luckily, the Steelers have that. Even if there's no TJ Watt on the field, the Steelers' defense is still elite. Lots of key pieces out there that will put one over on the Commanders. Being at home, it does give me a little bit of pause, but I'm going to stick with the Steelers on the road.
Yeah, so this is the toughest matchup of the week. By the way, I think I did like send you that whole joke about, you know, my favorite president is Alex Smith.
Oh, yeah.
because he was a great commander and chief.
Yeah,
that is good. This is a tough one for me. I made that joke because I want to buy myself more time to make the pick because this is legitimately difficult to me, maybe the most difficult one of the week. But I did definitely expect you to go Washington. I highly expected you to go Washington, so I'm gonna go Washington. I will take them. I think Jane Daniels is the best quarterback in the stadium. On that particular day, I think defensively the Steelers might be just a little step up, particularly with the defensive line and TJ Watt's having another MVP or Defensive Player of the Year kind of season. The Commanders, however, also, you know, they are very serviceable defensively, but they're very dynamic offensively. It's a very difficult matchup for me to predict. I can't really identify like a clear mismatch either side, other than potentially TJ Watt versus those offensive tackles. But I'm going to say Jaden Daniels with the speed, with the mobility. Ultimately, I think he's going to get it done. His receivers have been very good this year. This whole offense has been extremely reliable. I think they will bring it back together. So I will take the Washingtons. Titans and the Chargers.
Titans are still bad, even though they got the win. Even though they traded away their best player. I guess that goes against the... that makes my point. They're still bad. Like, that win over the Patriots proves absolutely nothing. You got 2 wins on the season so far, so I'm not going to be buying into the Titans at this point, that's for sure. Mason Rudolph is not going to save Christmas this year. Chargers are looking good. I'm going to stick with the Chargers after that dominant win over the Browns. I think the Chargers win this one easily at home.
Absolutely. Give me the Chargers. They're getting healthy. They're coming back. The Jim Harbaugh effect is gripping. This is the time for them to go on a run, gain momentum, going into their next game with the Kansas City Chiefs. And maybe the division can still be in play. The playoffs certainly are, but they have to compete with the Broncos. So Chargers take the win. They need each one they can get, and this one at home against Tennessee is a must-win. Jets and Cardinals.
So once the entire football world turns on the Jets, they actually pull off a win. A game that they could have easily lost. I guess the Texans are just too beat up. The CJ Stroud magic just wasn't there. And they were playing at home on a Thursday night. That was an absolutely boring game, though, by the way. That game was terrible to watch. But the Jets eked it out thanks to their defense. And that's usually how the Jets have been winning games whenever they do. Before Aaron Rodgers got there. But Aaron Rodgers has not been MVP Aaron Rodgers for quite some time at this point. So I'm not really... Man, it's tough because... Every time I pick against the Cardinals, you pick the Cardinals and they win. So I'm afraid to do this, but I don't know. Jesus. I'm not going to pick the Cardinals. I'm going to lose another point here, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to pick the Jets. I mean, maybe they got some momentum out of that, but I don't believe in the Cardinals at all. I don't know how they win every time you pick them, but I'll stick with the Jets on the road.
See, I had a master plan for this game, and you were going along with it perfectly until the last second. Because you pointed out that I kept picking the Cardinals, and I kept winning by picking the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. I thought there's no way that you are not going to talk yourself into picking Arizona this week. No, absolutely no shot. And then I can come in and swoop the Jets. That was going to be my plan. I'll stick with my guns. I'll take the Jets. The reason for that is not that I think they are the better team. They're not. The Cardinals are better at most positions. It's just that it's kind of hardwired into my brain's like ethical complex that I cannot look at Aaron Rodgers versus Kyler Murray matchup and say that Kyler Murray is going to win that game. It's just impossible. I can't do it. It's not possible. It's just something is so very deeply, fundamentally wrong with that, and the very fabric of that situation. I can't get myself to say it, so I will take the Jets. Get it done. They have been on the upswing. They beat the Texans. Texans are better than the Cardinals, ergo the Jets are beating the Cardinals. That's a very bad excuse, but that's all I can give you. Eagles at the Cowboys. So,
did you see this play by Saquon Barkley?
I saw it. I have a very interesting video to show you on X. That's a parody about that. I already tagged you in it. You can go look at it after we're done.
All right. But yeah, that's probably the greatest play in the history of the NFL. I've never seen anything better. Saquon Barkley is a superhuman. Luckily, they're not the greatest team out there by any means, but they have one of the greatest running backs of all time, and he can do stuff like that. And people were starting to doubt him, too, because he is getting later into his career. But much like Christian McCaffrey, time doesn't seem to matter for the super athletes, the Derrick Henrys, and guys like that. So that's all in favor of the Eagles here. The Cowboys are absolutely bad. If it's Cooper Rush out there, they have no chance, even at home, because we've seen the Cowboys get stomped out at home several times this year. I'm taking the Eagles on the road.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to go as far as claiming best play in NFL history or anything like that. It was a good run. It was great athleticism. Made some cool moves. Made people look stupid. Look, if he... After he lands the hurdle and he turns around and he jukes the other 3 guys and goes in for a touchdown on the same play, we can talk about that again. But this is not the best play in the NFL. It's not even the best run. 2-3 runs come to mind immediately. I mean, I could pull up a Barry Sanders highlight tape, probably find 3 runs that are better. Think about the Beast Quake. Think about Steve Young against the Vikings.
I knew you were going to say Steve Young. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's, you
knew
think
that
about
was
Garrison
coming.
Hurst, the first against the Jets, first play of overtime for a 99-yard walk-off touchdown. There's a lot out there, so I'm not going to put it up. But it's so far, it's been it's up there for contests. It's up there in the contest for play of the season, along with that that incredible touchdown catch from Garrett Wilson, which also happened the same week, by the way, and on Thursday night. So those two, I think, are currently kind of up there. Yeah, it was great, and the Eagles are going to beat the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys are going to come in with Cooper Rush, which historically has been boding quite well for them, actually, because he's been their backup for a long time now. He knows what's up, and we've had this discussion before. Should Cooper Rush just, like, there's been times where he outperformed Dak Prescott so much, backing him up, that there was a legitimate discussion of should he start for the rest of the season, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think it'll ever be the case, just because of how much money is being paid to Dak right now. But the Cowboys have a chance with him. I don't think they're a good team with either quarterback. The Eagles are better, so the Eagles are going to win. Lions and Texans.
Yeah, I've already made mention that the Lions may be the best team in football right now. I don't care what the Chiefs' record is. The Lions are 10 times better than the Chiefs right now. The Lions are so good. I don't even... They're not on our schedule. I hope not. I don't think they are. I don't think... We're not playing the NFC North, are we? Yeah. I would... No, because we played them last year. Remember the Josh Dobbs? Yeah, exactly. So glad we don't. If we do make the playoffs, we'll probably get stomped out by the Lions. I'll tell you that. Texans are coming off that tough loss to the Jets on Thursday night, so they're beat up also. If they get Nico Collins back, they get a better chance at winning this game, but I don't think it's possible, even with all their pieces on the field. The Lions are just too damn good right now. Taking the Lions on the road.
Fully agree. Give me the Lions as well. The Lions right now are somewhat prohibitive favorites to win the NFC Championship this year, which is kind of incredible to think, because they've I think never done that in their eternal history. And I will say fully, as even as a Niners fan, I think they deserve to. They if I'm being fully honest, they deserved to last year. They certainly do this year, and so far they are the best team in the NFC. There's nothing I can say about that. I don't think I can make a reasonable case that any other team is better in the NFC right now. It's hard to make a case for any other team in the league to be better than the Lions. I think they're beating the Chiefs right now, and I think they're also beating the Bills right now. And they're going to beat the Texans. The Lions are looking fantastic. They're rolling. They're continuing right from last year. This might be the next great NFC North dynasty. It might be. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers is out of the block. Soon as he leaves, the upstarts come out of the ground. The same thing happened in the AFC East, by the way. Tom Brady left. Oh, there's Josh Allen. Oh, now there's Tua. Zach Wilson was supposed to be one as well. And suddenly other teams are getting good. I don't know why that phenomenon tends to happen for some reason with really future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but that's what's currently happening in the NFC North. Lions look good. They're going to win. Dolphins and the Rams to close it out.
We may disagree on this one. This is tough for me because the Rams are on a hot streak right now. They're sitting at 500 at this point in time, and that seemed like a long shot at some point this season. But Puka is out there fighting people, and the entire team is fighting their way back into it. That was ridiculous. Why do you punch somebody in the helmet? I guess it was more of a push. It was more like an open hand punch, if you want to say that. But still, it's stupid to punch people in the helmet. And you get ejected in the game like that. But he'll be back here. The two star receivers are going to be back. They got their star running back. This team is actually in really good shape, and they're going to be at home here. I know the Dolphins are absolutely formidable with Tua out there, but they're just not winning in the end. Does make this tough, though. I think this will be another shootout game. I think it's going to be high scoring, and I think the Rams pull it out in the very end. Sorry, I like the Dolphins. I really like Tua. That's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. But man, it's a tough call. I'm gonna stick with the Rams at home.
Give me Dolphins. Give me Miami. I want this. I was sitting here all day waiting to get to this pick. I want the Dolphins. Yeah. They played well against the Bills. They are back. Tua's back. They're playing good when Tua's there. Rams are a mediocre team. I know they have momentum right now. I am relying on Mike McDaniel to put a stop to this right now, because I don't want to sit there as a Niners fan and like week 16, week 17 still have to bite my nails about making the playoffs. I don't want to have to deal with that. I want to have it locked up by week 15 and kind of cruise. And for that, the Rams look like one of the more imminent threats right now. Even though they're half game behind in the division standings, they have to be snuffed out, because I don't trust the Niners to beat the Rams again this year, because last time they didn't, due to some incredible circumstances. But nevertheless, weird things happen. Dolphins have to get it done. Dolphins do get it done. I am relying on it. That's why Tua came back. This is his mission. Okay, the Dolphins are not coming back. They're not making the playoffs. That's what he's here for. Beat the rest of the NFC West. So I'll take the Dolphins.
So you think Mike McDaniels is going to do Kyle Shanahan a favor and take out Sean McVay?
Yeah, look, he's going to trade Tyreek Hill over, and he's going to beat the Rams. Yeah, exactly. That's what he's supposed to do.
You think the 49ers would get Tyreek Hill?
I read an article the other day where it said like they are in like some discussion, and the Niners are like among the top 2 teams favored to land Tyreek Hill were they to trade him. But wow, I'm also very afraid of that idea in some sense.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous though. Like, how much better could Brock Purdy have it if he got Tyreek Hill? Ayuk goes out, who was underperforming anyway.
It's the replacement for Ayuk. Yeah, you didn't have McCaffrey at all so far this year. You had a halfway Deebo Samuel for almost the whole year.
But imagine if he did get Tyreek Hill, and you get McCaffrey back, and then you still have Samuel and Kittle out there. Like, he could just throw the ball up anywhere, double, triple coverage. Somebody's gonna catch it. Like, just close your eyes and throw the ball. Doesn't matter. Like, that would be ridiculous. I would pencil the 49ers in for a deep playoff run if that happened.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, probably. But what I'm more concerned of is actually like a guy like Tyreek Hill. Like, that's the guy who should be playing in Green Bay. And I'm talking about just surrounding wise. He should not be in a city like Miami. He should certainly not be anywhere near California. He's not the kind of person, and I'm going to say this unapologetically, he's not the kind of person I can trust to not mess up as soon as he leaves the practice facility. Yeah. If he's in a city like Miami, like New York, there's a character of player that does not belong in those cities, because it just doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. And Tyreek Hill is one of those characters. He needs to go to Green Bay or to Denver and be as far away from trouble as possible. And he just in Kansas City, I mean, he didn't have much chance to get into much trouble. And he still took his chances when he could. Yeah. But Miami is a very different area.
Well, even at Oklahoma State, he was getting in trouble.
Yeah, he find ways anywhere. So sometimes, I don't know. If that issue wasn't there, he'd fit perfect. I mean, he'll take him. The speedster, and great for the to revive the yards after catch kind of offense. That was the best one in the league last year, and is the worst in the league this year, which is not a good development at all. But I don't think a trade will happen. If it does, I won't mind. But mainly the Dolphins have to beat the Rams. That's the most important part. Yeah. We got 4 teams on bye this week: Browns, Packers, Raiders, and the Seahawks. I think all of them will probably be happy about it.
Yeah, they should be. Man,
yeah, it's a pretty good spot to have a bye.
Yeah, I mean, middle of the season. I've always been a fan. I know it's never going to happen because of TV and, making the schedule for the fields and whatnot. These stadiums host other events besides football. But I've always wanted this one single bye week for the entire NFL in the middle of the season. Like somewhere around this point in the season. every team goes on bye. Like that's the fantasy football fan in me. Like that would be the greatest thing for fantasy football, which keeps the NFL. I mean, I ain't gonna say they wouldn't be in the position they're at without fantasy football, but it's absolutely added to it. Like that's one of their biggest markets is fantasy football. So it would be great, but I know it's never gonna happen. It's way too much to try to negotiate. So
there's a proposal I read a few weeks ago, which I think made a lot of sense to me and should be in basically everyone's interest. And I wonder if the NFL will take this seriously. So the idea is the following. You add another week to the regular season, but you add one league-wide bye week in the middle of the season, like week 9 or week 10 is just a full-on bye week. But instead, of course, you add that week, you add another week at the end of the regular season to also play. Gives every team a bye at the same time. Every team still plays enough games. And it has the side effect of having the Super Bowl on the Sunday before President's Day, which is a national holiday. No one's going to work. So everyone can stay home, watch the Super Bowl in peace. You don't have to go to the school or anything.
Oh,
that would be a great solution. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be perfect.
I think they should consider it.
Well, I think their biggest problem would be they don't want to go a week without TV ratings. Like I think that's... I guess. And that they probably feel like they're taking a loss if they lose that one single week.
But they're getting an extra week of play as well.
Yeah.
Right? You add another week of play. You play 18 games, and you add a bye week. You add a 19-week regular season.
So does everybody get 2 byes or just the one?
I don't know if that's what everyone would have to get 2 byes still. Okay. I think, yeah. Because otherwise, teams are playing like 2 extra games, right?
Yeah, I'm all for adding an extra week myself, but I know the players' union would have a problem with it. Like, it takes so much negotiating to get players to play the extra game that we had added a couple of years ago. They didn't want that. They want less games, but
yeah.
The NFL would take it. Like, yeah, of course, they want more.
That's then just money. Telling them to do 2 bye weeks is 2 league-wide bye weeks is going to be difficult. I can see that. An extra 2 league-wide bye weeks. I don't think that's feasible. But another league-wide bye, you still keep the old bye, and then you play an extra game.
If only it wasn't such a contact sport, we could have the All-Star break in the middle of the season like the MLB does.
You could do that. You could have the Pro Bowl during that league-wide bye. Do it there.
But who would show up?
That's what basketball does.
Yeah, but
maybe more players. I don't know. If you're not gonna play a real game, you're gonna have like funny do like what do players do during their bye week during the regular season? They go on vacation, right? Yeah. They don't practice during bye week, so maybe you'll get more people showing up to the Pro Bowl because they're still kind of at home, still kind of at work doing football. After like the playoffs are done, like no one's showing up to the Pro Bowl. They're all in some like Caribbean, especially because it's in friggin' February. Who's gonna stay at home, right? Yeah. They're all somewhere else. So did the Pro Bowl weekend before. You got maybe better weather and
yeah.
Well, I like the idea. I think they should consider it.
It's kind of why the Hawaii thing worked out for so long. Wasn't until they moved, they moved and people didn't want to go to the Pro Bowl anymore.
Hawaii's great. Do it in Hawaii now.
Yeah.
Middle of the season.
I'm all for it. Let's do that. But
I think you should consider it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna remind everyone again. You can vote for your MVP. The poll is out on the channel page. Next week, I'm gonna try posting it a bit sooner, so we have a little bit more time before the Thursday night game kicks off to vote. And I'm curious to see how it turns out next week. I have some ideas, but development should be interesting to see. Smokey, do you have anything to add for this week?
I think that's it for this week.
All right, thank you everybody for watching. Drop us a like. Let us know what you think about these predictions here, and we'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha.